Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And in this video we're going to continue our Why Play series, and in this particular video we're going to look at a Stormhost, which means it belongs to the Stormcast Eternals, and of course this will be the Hallowed Knights as voted by yourselves. However, really do not like Stormcast, being Age of Nagash here. Stolen properties I've already mentioned before, so we'll be doing Why Play Null Marad from the Ostrich Bone Reapers, which really are what souls should be used for, and not stolen and then just simply wasted on something as boring as the Stormcast Eternals. And an interesting thing about the lore for the Null Marad is that they're actually Arkhan's Legion, so he made a deal with... Right, okay, I'll stop there. So we are going to be talking about Stormcast in this video, but I just had to get my hatred out of them, of course, every time I talk about them. So what we're going to do in this video, in case you haven't seen a Why Play video before, is we're going to talk about the Hallowed Knights. We're going to go over their lore, and we're going to look at their strengths on and off the table, and also their weaknesses as well. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll realise that this is a sub-allegiance you would like to play in your Stormcast armies, or maybe you'd like to play another one. Also a disclaimer, as maybe you haven't worked out already, I'm not a Stormcast player, so this is going to be from a more outside perspective, but I am experienced with this game, so I can give you my thoughts on these guys. But there are any Stormcast players out there, feel sorry for you. But if you have played Hallowed Knights, please put any ideas or thoughts of how you think with your experience of what is best with them or how to use them in the comments down below, as we will all benefit from it. Also, what I will say is if you guys have not seen my Why Play Stormcast video before, go check that one out for sure, as well as this video, because in this video you may notice we might overlook some overall things about the Stormcast Eternals because we covered it in that particular video. Like I said, in this one we'll be focused on Hallowed Knights. It will be on my playlist for my Stormcast Eternals on my channel. So before we completely dive into all things Hallowed Knights, I do of course want to do a massive shout out to my patrons and YouTube members, who because of these people I can continue making videos for you guys on YouTube, and to try and help as many as you get into Age of Sigmar and continue Age of Sigmar journey. So my top supporters is going to be my Morgasts, which is going to be Johnathan H, Filq, Bleed Red and Christopher G. Thank you so much for your continued support, guys. It really goes a huge way in keeping the channel going, especially with the amount you are supporting me with. And then my vampires, which are going to be Mir, Martin S, Rouse321, David A, Ronni H, Doug P, SpareBear, Christopher H and Northdrop. Thank you all so much as well, because out of that tier you're really helping out the channel as well. So thank you very kindly for continuing and keeping it up. And then of course my Necromancers, that's going to be Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Quad, Cranky Wombat, Christopher F, Christopher C, James S, Steve T, Robin S, and also James T as well, which I'd like to say is a new Patreon. So thank you very much for deciding to support the channel, and everything you give, don't worry, it's all going to be put to keeping the channel going. So thank you to all my YouTube members and my patrons. As like I always say, it wasn't for you guys, wouldn't be able to continue this. If any of you would like to support on those methods, you'll find a join button next to the subscribe button, and you'll find the link to my Patreon at the top of the description down below. But we can get into all those details later, because on with Only the Faithful, being the Hallowed Knights. And firstly, we're going to start by talking about their lore. So what I will say is there's quite a few books out there and novels from Black Library about the Hallowed Knights. You have the Hammers of Sigmar, which I'd say are Sigmar's #1 top boys. And then you have the Hallowed Knights, which are his second. Now, I don't mean in terms of the strength of them on the tabletop or anything like that, but I just mean how represented they are in the lore. I'd say the Hallowed Knights is second. As there are in a bunch of books from the Realm Gate series, there's also a really, really good audio drama that probably came out about 4 years ago now, something like that. So it's a little bit of a while ago, but the lore from it is still relevant. And essentially what you have is some Stormcast Eternals being the Hallowed Knights, wanting to speak to Nagash. Nagash is hidden in Stygites, which is the underworld in Shyish. And the Hallowed Knights bump into Manfred, who agrees to help them try and find Nagash. And we all know what Manfred von Carsten's like, and it makes for quite a interesting and funny tale, shall we say, of what actually happens in the end. And that's a really, really good series. Like I've already said, you know, being Nagash here, not a massive fan of the Stormcast, but I really did enjoy it. And maybe have a little bit of a smidge of a liking towards the Hallowed Knights. So I'm glad to see that you guys voted this one in amongst all the Stormhosts. So go check that out if you would like to. But otherwise, the Hallowed Knights are driven by a fierce inner fire, all doubts and negativity made distant memories by the power of their faith. They are devoted believers, never ceasing in their crusade, even when it takes them to the most forsaken places in all the realms. Who can triumph over the darkness? Only the faithful! Guardians and spiritual protectors of the free people, the Hallowed Knights are never idle in their constant crusade to prove the supremacy of Sigmar. They will plunge into nightmarish war zones without hesitation, advance at a run towards the most terrifying monsters and demons, and brave the deadliest environments to deliver Sigmar's justice from the fields of ever-burning hellfire to the quagmires of Nurgle's garden. The sheer strength of their belief in the God King lends the Hallowed Knights a spiritual shield against evil magic. Though few outside their sacrosanct chamber are trained in the mystical arts, their steel souls are fortified against arcane corruption, much as their Sigmarite plate protects them from axes and blades of more mundane enemies. The Hallowed Knights take a humble pride in proving their purity, seeing it as their defining quality. Those who die time and time again in Sigmar's service are often gifted with sacred honour parchment, so that they might draw strength from the holy writ emblazoned there. The leaders of the Knights, well used to suffering in the name of Sigmar, can summon reserves of energy, even when they are so wounded it seems that all that is left for them is a painful death. So if I break that down, essentially what they are the kind of the good Stormcast Eternals. Now most of them are generically good, but the Hallowed Knights are one of the most purest of souls, essentially, so they are kind of like the ones who will look out to try and save as many human victims in the mortal realms, try and prevent civilian casualties, all those sorts of things, because not every Stormhost is the same. And they are also huge on crusading throughout the mortal realms to bring Sigmar's basically order towards keeping the mortal realms in the shape that they honestly believe Sigmar's presence will do to benefit the realms. Now obviously I have a different opinion to that. However, the Hallowed Knights, because they have this such strong belief in Sigmar, it can actually protect them on the battlefield, and I believe that works in terms of just how chaos as a thing works. It's not all evil. And then moving on to the rules for the Hallowed Knights. So the first one we're going to talk about is the main ability, which is the generic ability you get for just being Hallowed Knights, and it's called Only the Faithful. Honestly, if you like that war cry, you're going to love the Hallowed Knights. They say it any moment they can. And in that audio drama I was talking about earlier, I lost count how many times I said it. But anyway, so, Only the Faithful. The Hallowed Knights are so devoted that they can deny even the magic of the realms. So, if a friendly Hallowed Knights unit is affected by a spell or endless spell, roll a dice. On a 6+, ignore the effects of that spell on that unit. So my honest thoughts about this, it's not great. But what is good about it and what is strength is that there is a lot of magic in the game at the moment. We're in a very heavy shooting meta, but we're also in a very heavy, just a range threat meta from spells. If you look at things like Lord Croak, look at things like Teclis, look at things like Castle Fate Weaver, and there are countless others out there that can do a lot of damage from afar. Whole armies can be dedicated from it. So the idea of being able to ignore the spells is good. But on a 6+, not good really at all. Like, for example, I play Null Morad, which is the Ostrich Bone Reaper Legion I was joking about earlier. And they have this ability, but it's just on a 5+. And even then, you can't guarantee it enough, so there's a way you can make it a 2+, just to be safe. But a 5+, if you've got nothing else, is alright. And I've also played with a lot of Varangard in Slaves of Darkness, and what this means is that they've got a 5+ spell ignore from their shields, and the amount of times I've rolled 5+ for that is little to none. So a 6+, I mean, if your whole army is affected by a spell or an endless spell, chances are one of your units is probably going to be okay. Maybe 2. So I'm not a massive fan of that. Secondly, I don't like it because it says if a friendly Hallowed Knight unit is affected. And what that means, and I have checked the FAQs on this, so if it has been updated since, let me know in the comments. But what they did say is someone asked a question in the FAQ for the Stormcast Eternals when the Bash Storm came out, their latest one, at the day of recording, which is the 1st of the 4th, 2021. And what the question was is, what about if I cast a spell onto my Hallowed Knights with a friendly wizard? How about that? Will I still have to roll a dice to a 6-up to see if I ignore it? And yes, you do. So you could put one of your spells onto your Hallowed Knight units to help them out, and you would still have to roll a dice, and on a 6, it would be ignored. Which just feels really backwards, and almost to the point where when that person asked that question for the FAQ, why did, Games Workshop not just go, oh, maybe we missed that bit out. Okay, yeah, thanks. We'll change the word and we'll make a little FAQ for that just to change it. But instead went, no, that is how it is intended. Because if it is, that's how it's intended, which they said it is, really, really just feels like it's going backwards. I remember there was a point in Age of Sigmar where I think dwarf banners or something for the dispossessed, on a 4-up or a 5-up, they ignore spells, even if it was a battle wizard trying to give them a mystic shield or something. But that was Age of Sigmar, 1st edition, which was very Wild West, so always kind of forgiven for that. However, here, where, when this book came out, 2nd edition, clearing up a lot of the rules, trying to put things on the relatively same level, which obviously that's changed a lot lately, but I just feel like that's just made this ability from being, it will help you out every so often, and when it does, you'll probably be really happy you've got this 6-up, to I have to potentially ignore my own spells, which I've had to, like we've already mentioned, heavy magic meta. Firstly, get your spell off, then your enemy not to unbind it, and then you could just ignore it on a 6, which means you can't effectively plan towards your spells, which I know, as far as I'm aware, Stormcast armies don't 100% rely on their spells. They've got prayers and everything else, but it's still important. You can ally people in to try and help you with good magic. And then the fact that you can just ignore it just annoys me, quite frankly, because when I first read this, I was happy for it to be a case of, oh, it's just a 6-up, so it's not the best way to ignore magic in the game, or a way to have an ability in sub-legions. Like I said, Northdrop has a better way. But at least it's alright, it's harmless, it will help you out every so often, but now it's just no, it could be bad for you as well, that ability. So yeah, don't like that. But going on to the command ability, let's see if I like this one anymore. So, Holy Crusaders, the Hallowed Knights are driven forward by their faith, always eager to bring Sigmar's holy retribution to the enemies of the God King. So what does it actually do? You can use this command ability at the start of your hero phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Hallowed Knights unit wholly within 9 inches of a friendly Hallowed Knights hero, or wholly within 18 inches of a friendly Hallowed Knights hero that is a general. Add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. In addition, until your next hero phase, that unit can run and still charge later in the same turn. So I actually really like this ability because your Stormcast Eternals are pretty slow, to be absolutely honest with you. Put this on some Jacq.l lines or something like that, or some Dracos, which I know aren't the most competitive units in the game, but they're units that are fast in your army, and they will become obviously incredibly a lot faster with that ability. Also, if you've got teleporting going around in the Stormcast Eternals, giving yourself +1 to charge is nice. I know it's not guaranteeing your charge, but it makes it better than a 9-inch charge. You have to set 9 inches away. But I think any army that has the ability to run and charge is really, really good. I would like it to have been at the start of your movement phase. So then if you've got certain buffs off in your army you've done in your hero phase, you could maybe try and position things a little bit better. If you've got hero phase movement, anything like that, I think would be good. I'm not really concerned too much about the wholly within 9 inches of a hero or wholly within 18 inches of a Hallowed Knights hero, to be honest with you, because a lot of books at this sort of time were those ranges anyway, so that's okay. But But yeah, I think this is really good. I really like the run and charge mechanic. Movement is how you win this game. Don't know how many times I'd say that. I'll probably say that in every single video I do when I'm reviewing an army. And this is a great movement ability. Now, it's not as crazy as some of them out there in the game, but the fact that you're being able to run and charge and getting that +1 to your run and charge rolls, so you're running and charging, but you're also getting +2, basically, because if you're going to run and charge, you've got the +1 on the run, and then you get the +1 on the charge. So even if you just look at things like Retributors, as an example, which have got a 4-inch movement, pretty damn bad, right? With this, you make them run an automatic 6 by spending a CP if you want to, so a command point. Then that means that that 6 turns to a 7 because they get that +1 to it. So now their movement 11, and then you're able to charge. And the average charge you'll get is a 7. Now, I know that doesn't always happen, but just say the average is a 7. And then you're +1 to it. So those Retributors have moved 19 inches in that turn. And as an opponent who maybe doesn't really know too much about Retributors, you don't want to have like, oh, I got you sort of moment, but you tell them you can do all this stuff. And then if they forget during the game, or they just really don't kind of like appreciate how good an ability it can be. And then suddenly when they've gone, so those Retributors move 4 inches, now they've been charged by those Retributors, which were 19 inches away at the start of the turn. So yeah, I think it's quite good, and I think it's got a lot of play, especially in an army that suffers with movement, in my personal opinion. So then we go on to the command trait. So this is going to be a Hallowed Knights General must have this command trait instead of one listed on page 118. And it's always important to read that a little bit. It's easy to miss it. Sometimes I do as well. But if you read it, sometimes these command traits and artifacts we're about to go through can be a bit of a tax for when you take a sub-allegiance, and there can be little loopholes for you to be able to ignore these command traits and artifacts and take ones from the list in the generic command traits and artifacts for that army, which you think are better. However, here, you have to take this command trait, so, which is going to be Martry's Strength. Don't know that's how it's pronounced, but anyway. Hallowed Knights will not fall until their foe is slain. So, roll a dice if the general is slain in the combat phase. On a 2+, this general can make a piling move and then attack with all of the melee weapons it is armed with before it is removed from play. And to be honest, I actually quite like this command trait. Now, I don't think the Stormcast Eternals are the ones who could benefit from it the most, maybe. They do have some punchy characters. However, what I will say is, from how I read it, let's say you go, right, I'm going to put this on my Lord Citizen on Star Drake. You know, big model, load of attacks, can do some damage when it dies and it gets to piling attack. What I will say to that is because this is a command trait and it doesn't state it affects the mount, it would only be the Lord Celestant riding the dragon that gets to fight. Now, he could be a little bit punchy as well, but the fact that you're not attacking with the dragon is maybe something you wouldn't think of at first. If there's anyone out there with more like basically information or evidence to say that no, the Star Drake gets to fight, I want the Star Drake to fight, that would be cooler, let us know in the comments, because I can't see it on any FAQs they've done for the Stormcast Eternals either, and the core rules state that the mount would not benefit from a command trait. But you've got little heroes or something like that quite unexpectedly. There's a lot of times where, I don't know, if I go to fight in the combat phase, I may choose one particular activation. So I might choose one of my units to fight to be able to kill an enemy hero who's on a couple of wounds just so they can't swing back and hit me. And even if I was to do that on a 2-up, they could swing back and hit me. And I may have been attacking with a hero of my own that only had 1 or 2 wounds. So they will take each other out in the process. Now that is a very specific situation, but things like that do happen in the game. But generally, I think it's quite a good command trait, because some command traits for sub-allegiances are so poor, and then some of them are really good. This, I would say, is neither poor and neither amazing. So it's all right. I would say it's good. All right, good is where I would place it. But then we've got the Artifact of Power. So the first Hallowed Knights hero to receive an Artifact of Power must be given the Parchment of Purity. So the Parchment of Purity, the runes etched on the Honor Parchment glow with the restorative power of Azir. In your hero phase, heal 1 wound allocated to the bearer. Yeah, again, I would say that's alright. It's not amazing, but it's alright. It's better than some of the artifacts out there. and particularly of how tough Stormcast terminals are. If the enemy you're fighting doesn't have much mortal wound potential, let's say, and your heroes are all on 3-up saves and their rend isn't particularly good, let's say your opponent's rend isn't good and they haven't got mortal wounds, which means your opponent's kind of probably going to struggle against most matchups. However, with your Stormcast Eternals, if your opponent hasn't got rend or mortal wounds and you're healing that one wound on that character you want to keep alive, it will be very annoying for your opponent and will make you very happy. And that's all what there really is to say about that. It's quite short and sweet, and again, there are worse ones out there and there are better ones out there. And really, that is where I'm going to come and end this why play Hallowed Knights. So to answer the question, why would you play Hallowed Knights? Firstly, I think their lore is pretty cool, and like I've already mentioned throughout this video, mainly at the start, if I'm saying anything about Stormcast Eternals is cool, it generally has got quite a high ranking opinion in my mind of positivity. So the Hallowed Knights are, if you have to play Stormcast Eternals, one of the better ones to play, I would say. And also, if you want to have an army that is a bit faster because of that run-in charge mechanic, I would probably go with Hallowed Knights. I would say, I wouldn't say it's the strongest. I'd probably say Anvils of the Heldenhammer, which we'll no doubt review in a later video, is the strongest one for Stormcast Eternals. But Stormcast Eternals aren't the strongest army out there in the meta at the moment. So if you want to play the strongest army in the game, don't play Stormcast Eternals in a very short and sweet, basically, way to say it. But the Hallowed Knights do have something on their side, which is movement. That command ability is the reason I would play Hallowed Knights. The command trait is nice, but the other three things as well, so the ability, the spell ignore base of the command trait and the artifact, I don't really care too much about. It's the whole being able to run and charge is what I would care about, and +1 to that run and charge roll. So if you want to be fast and you want to be quick with your Stormcast Eternals, who are generally quite slow, I would pick the Hallowed Knights, and that would be my personal opinion. I know some other armies for the Hallowed Knights and some of the Stormhosts. I think there's one that's got like a pre-game move, so there may be argument there saying that they're actually faster. Everything else, but I think the Hallowed Knight mid-game and late game with that extra movement would really could help turn the tide of the battlefield in terms of getting to objectives and scoring points. And that is why I would say to play the Hallowed Knights, and plus their colour scheme is 1,000 times better than Hammers of Sigmar, which the gold and blue I think is incredibly boring. So you've got that one as well, what I'd say is a benefit. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here. I'm really glad you guys came and watched this video today. If you did enjoy this video, please smash that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell notification. 3 buttons for you to press, all next to each other. Really convenient. Just 3 clicks. Massively support the channel. And hey, it's free to do so as well, so it helps me out. It lets me know that you guys enjoy this content, because if videos, like I say on my channel, they don't get really too many likes, I make these content and these videos for you and to hope you enjoy. So I can see if a video is not getting too many likes or something like that, I will probably tend to not return to the subject again. So if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and absolutely ring that bell button as well. Absolutely smash it. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments down below and I'll try and help you best I can when it can come to the Hallowed Knights. And again, if anyone's watching here and you've got some experience with the Hallowed Knights, please also put that in the comments as well, as generally we would all learn from it. Like I said, I'm not the most knowledgeable person about Hallowed Knights, but you guys wanted a video on them, so I thought I would make you guys a video and see what we can learn about this Stormhost of the Stormcast Eternals. What I'd also like to say, as I mentioned earlier, if you would like to support the channel in a bigger way and a really helpful way, you'll find a join button next to the subscribe button. Essentially what that would mean is you can join to become a member here on Age of Nagash, and that means you can basically support the channel, keep it going by giving anything from like £1 a month, something like that. It goes all straight towards the channel. And I also have a link to my Patreon at the top of the description down below, where you can go on there and give anything from $1 a month. And Patreon and YouTube membership are the reasons why I can continue doing YouTube. YouTube can be quite expensive. It's incredibly time consuming. I don't make any profit at all, but anything that people can kindly give towards the channel is the reason I can keep this going, as if I didn't have any of that, I wouldn't be able to justify spending this much time and resources doing this channel. And with that, I'm going to give another massive shout out to people who have done just that and are absolutely lovely, and because of them I can keep going and that's again going to be my biggest supporters, which are going to be my Morgasts. So that's going to be Johnathan H, Filq, Bleed Red, and Christopher G. Like I've already mentioned, guys, and that support, you're giving so much help towards the channel. I really don't know what to say apart from thank you hugely, and also to please keep it up, as it is making a big difference in keeping the channel going. And then my vampires, which are going to be Mir, Martin S, Rounds321, David A, Ronni H, Doug P, SpareBear, Christopher H, and Northdrop as well. Being a vampire is also a big support towards the channel, so you don't go unnoticed. I really do appreciate that, and please do keep it up. And then my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas, WolfNick, Michal W, Quad, Cranky Wombat, Christopher F, Christopher C, James S, Steve T, and Robin S, and then James T as well. So a massive thank you to every single one of you keeping this channel going, and also another shout out for James T, who decided to become a patron. So thank you so much for deciding to take that step, and you won't regret it, as it's really going to help keep the channel going. And with that aside, guys, if you can support me that way, that would be fantastic. But if you can't, no worries, just like, subscribe, and bell notification if you can. But beyond anything else, I'm just really happy that you came and joined this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, if you did and you think you might know someone else who might like it, why don't you share it with them as well, as that is a great way to spread any help I can, get people involved with their armies on the tabletop, and try and get them to enjoy their games of Warhammer. And just another shout out I'd like to give, why we might as well, I'm doing a few of them, is feel free to join the Discord we've got here on Age of Nagash. You'll find a link to it near the top of the video, and what that'll take you to is my Discord for Age of Nagash, like I already mentioned. And essentially we have a great community there, and you can join the conversation. We've got anything from people sharing their amazing work against the grey, so this is like painting and hobby motivation, and then you've got things just like general chats for Warhammer, Tabletop Simulator, and other ways to be able to hang out and chat with fantastic people. But anyway, I've been going on for too long now. I made a video about Stormcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly didn't. And remember, until next time, to stay safe. Make sure you wear gloves, you wear a mask for God's sake, and you wash your hands. So some of you, if you want to play Stormcast Eternals, can do it by the time we're out of this. And also, remember, more importantly than most other videos, because we mentioned Sigmar in this one, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash. Don't play Stormcast, play literally any other army in the game. I hope I stressed that enough in this video. And if you're still watching this video and you think that I stressed it too much, I honestly don't care.